Shalom, first and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teaching this truth in sincerity. And a shout out to Yakim that's out there in four corners of the earth proclaiming this truth. Braka the Yahweh, Braka the Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Ruach HaKodesh, Braka Tam. And so here we are, another week in Babylon the Great, and you can start to see that ever since the drill in L.A., you know, that the activity has been increasing as they're not only invading Venezuela right now, but they're also, plans to invade Nicaragua and all the other countries. So pretty much, as another brother had put it, I believe that's Men of Valor, South Carolina channel, had put it out there that pretty much this third woe is now coming to the Western Hemisphere, because all those countries are pretty much a depiction of, the East, the West, but also mostly, though, the West here, well, that's where the Northern and Southern Kingdom tribes are. So it's happening now. So this is like movement that you see going on, as they're bringing in martial law, because Jade Helm, we know, means army after next, but you can see this everywhere, and this is from a video, the Trumpet in Zion channel, as another brother had uploaded. But yeah, you see military activity everywhere, and what are they moving this in? Well, who is the army after next, because we know that Jade Helm and army after next mean the same thing. The army after next is pretty much the UN, NATO, the beast, and that's to get everybody to, as the scriptures say, worship the beast and his image, so this is part of the image of the beast, if you will, trying to get you to submit to his will here. You can see, though, that this is captured from phones. This is what's really happening. While others are still in the bread and circuses and are docile, yet this is what's really happening and been happening over the course of time. I've even seen movements, up near Wairika coming back from Oregon, a few years ago. So, and then the car fire happened, and we've seen how fast they could lock down a city, because that was a national emergency, which we all know, though, that it wasn't no blown tire that sparked a fire, that this was a well-orchestrated plan to burn Northern California, as there was a Rothschild plan all along to burn Northern California. But they didn't stop with Northern California. No, this went to Paradise. That got completely wiped out. And then you got, Thousand Oaks, I believe, was another one that was wiped out, and you had the Mendocino fire. These fires were well orchestrated because it was a plan. Because most of all, the Most High is sending the sword after you wicked, you two-thirds that don't want to repent. This is what you have coming to you, especially you scoffers, because here it is, the men of the Lord go out there, and we teach, whether we be a confusion of face or others, now you just want to scoff at us. You don't want to go out there, because I put this out there yesterday, or was it the day before? But I said, where do you see ISUPK, since that's the main one that's been doing it as of lately on my channel, probably been doing it on lots of brothers' channels, they'll subscribe under many different names, and then they'll, scoff at, us that are teaching, but I don't see any one-man camps within ISUPK. Definitely don't see them in IUIC. Don't see them in HOI. The only place that I really see them is, Men of Valor, which is joined unto Great Millstone. Those are the only ones that have one-man camps, or two-man camps, or three-man camps. But all those other ones come in large numbers, and they only do a few videos here and there, And so, no, they won't come out and teach, but they'll scoff at the men that do, So you can see, though, that all this is coming, and it's been a well-orchestrated plan all along. And so we're just going to get into some other things that are going on besides the troop development. As it's been stated many a times, now, man, this is the Most High that's doing it, that he's gathering these countries, and that's why they're sending the army after next, the UN, to control things over here, because The main militia is going to be over here in the Valley of Yehoshaphat. And it's the Most High that's orchestrating this stuff, even though Esau thinks that he's the one. So, here's some more about how the U.S. is not really withdrawn from Syria, which we could have told you that, because that's not what the scriptures say.
The US has announced plans to maintain a peacekeeping group of 200 troops on Syrian soil beyond the planned withdrawal of Pentagon troops from the country this spring. The statement does come after a recent phone call between Trump and his Turkish counterpart, Recep Erdogan. The leaders discussed security in the region. There are currently some 2,000 American troops in Syria. In December, Trump announced the withdrawal of US forces there, but their pullout does now seem less than certain.
It should be formally announced sometime, probably next week, that we will have 100% of the caliphate.
Just look at this devil here.
But I want to wait for the official word. I don't want to say it too early.
Got to talk to your Zionist leaders.
We have won against ISIS. We've beaten them, and we've beaten them badly. Now we've won. Time to give our brave warriors in Syria a warm welcome home.
You could, in that vacuum, see a resurgence of ISIS, see a resurgence of terror groups like Al-Qaeda.
We'll come back if we have to.
OK, well, let's get the thoughts now of international affairs commentator Jonathan Steele. He joins us from the UK. Jonathan, good afternoon to you. Some might ask, what is the point of keeping just 200 troops in Syria? I mean, how effective could they be?
Well, they're a tripwire, I think. I mean, the main problem is that the Turkish authorities, President Erdogan has threatened to move Turkish troops into the whole of the northern Syrian area to wipe out the Kurdish forces there, which he considers to be terrorist. I was talking actually yesterday in London to one of the Syrian Kurdish political leaders who was here on a visit to see the British government, and she was saying that the Kurds are willing to move their forces 5 kilometers back from the Syrian-Turkish border, provided there are peacekeepers or some international force in the buffer zone to protect them against the Turks.
And peacekeeping, that's another role of the UN. Same peacekeepers are going to be coming over here in the United States, the army after next, here in Babylon the Great. Yeah, they'll be fulfilling their peacekeeping role. Kind of like how Libya is such a nice place to live now, right? And here's even more that's going on in Syria from South Front.
The Syrian Arab Army, SAA, and the National Defense Forces, NDF, have finished their combing operation in the central Syrian desert, the NDF Media Center said in a statement. According to the released statement, the SAA and the NDF eliminated several ISIS members and seized loads of weapons and equipment in the framework of the operation, which covered desert areas of Homs, Rif Damask, Deir ez-Zor, and Raqqa provinces. Despite this, ISIS cells still control a large chunk of the Homs Deir ez-Zor desert. On February 21st, a car bomb exploded near the Deir Razam hospital in the center of the Turkish-occupied city of Afrin, injuring up to 10 people. The attack took place a few hours after a military parade held by Turkish-backed militants in the city. Opposition activists accused YPG-linked rebels of carrying out the attack. Since early 2018, YPG-linked cells have conducted multiple IED attacks and ambushes on positions of Turkey-led forces in the region. A car bomb hit a bus carrying workers returning from the Omar oil fields. At least 15 people were killed and multiple others were injured. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack.
Most of the Kurds are ISIS.
Local sources say that it was likely conducted by ISIS cells. Multiple convoys carrying men, women, and children, mostly ISIS members and their families, left the ISIS-held pocket in the Euphrates Valley in the last 2 days. These persons are being transferred to filtration camps controlled by the Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF.
Which is another terrorist proxy.
About 250 ISIS fighters remained besieged in the area because they refused to surrender. It is interesting to note that pro-SDF sources pretend that the group allows civilians only to leave the pocket. However, evidence from the ground contradicts these claims. On February 21st, it appeared that the U.S.-backed group had handed over 500 ISIS members to the Iraqi military. On February 19th, Russian forces opened 2 humanitarian corridors, allowing refugees to leave the camp. Members of the Syrian Arab Red Crescent were stationed at the checkpoints to provide medical aid to refugees leaving the camp near the area of El Tanf. However, according to the Russian Reconciliation Center, militants have blocked the exit from the camp by building an earth berm. They also threatened the refugees with jail and death on the territory under the control of the Damascus government. Head of the center, Sergei Solomatin, added that at the same time, the possibility of exit of foreign fighters from the 55-kilometer zone to Jordan and Iraq is not limited, and ISIS militants and their families are being moved to the camp from the eastern bank of the Euphrates River. From its side, U.S.-backed militants continue to repeat that the Damascus government is prosecuting and punishing refugees returning to their homes. The Iranian Revolution Guards Corps, IRGC, have control of 7 to 8 U.S. unmanned aerial vehicles operating in Syria and Iraq. IRGC Aerospace Force Brigadier General Amir Ali Hajizadeh said, adding that the IRGC extorted intelligence data from the aircraft. The IRGC media also released videos confirming its claims. While ISIS is de facto defeated in Syria and Iraq, a possible escalation of the long-standing conflict between the U.S.-Israeli-led bloc and Iran continues to pose a threat to regional security.
Southfront is a crowd-funded endeavor,
and like everything else, though, they're going to escalate this. But wait, there's more. Speaking of Iran, got something else here from Last American Vagabond.
Moving on to another story in regard to foreign policy before we get to the domestic stuff. This one it's almost humorous to me. Like, I almost laughed when I saw this, because we just talked about this in regard to Venezuela. Another thing, anti-war. Seeking legal cover for war, Trump administration attempts to tie Iran to Al-Qaeda. Which is staggeringly stupid when you understand the nuances of both sides. But they're doing it anyway because this is their classic attempt to use Iran as the just catch-all bad guy these days, because that's been their agenda for a very long time. But all we know, as Trump would say, they do bad things. No, that's good enough for most people, but not for someone who actually cares about the truth. Bad things is not enough evidence. I want to see, evidence like destroying multiple countries and leaving them in ruin, or like bombing countries continually without any international approval, or invading countries and starving people to death. That would be proof that Iran's a bad group.
But they'll never find the proof against Iran, because, of course, their accuser are the terrorists themselves. ISIS comes from United States. Al-Qaeda comes from the United States. It's their proxy. So that way they can have an all-out war with Syria, Iran, Iraq, Yemen, to continue their onslaught.
But now they're just trying to tie them in with, Al-Qaeda, the group that the U.S. is working with in Yemen and Syria. Which, let that contradiction spin around in your head, but apparently that means they're the bad guy. So, seemingly controlled by the extremely obviously hawkish groups in his administration against Iran specifically. The vast majority of the Trump administration has been absolutely just salivating about starting something with Iran, as Bolton, we just saw him outright threaten Iran, which is pretty interesting. Now, Congress is unlikely to sign off if the administration just simply asks for new war authorization, specifically aimed at Iran, as they have actually dragged their feet in the past and tried to put certain verbiage in different bills to stop them from going after Iran. So some people recognize the play here. Instead, the administration is now looking to, again, try to broaden the decades-old authorization they already have, hoping to squeeze one last big, plainly unintended war out of it. And of course, we're talking about the authorization for use of military force. Now, in the same fashion we were just seeing play out right now in Syria, in Yemen, and even now in Venezuela, right now, with Pompeo saying, oh yeah, now there's Iran there, because...
And Nicaragua.
Officials have begun trying to advance the preposterous claim that Iran is secretly backing high-level Al-Qaeda operatives. Because I guess the broad, they foment terror around the world isn't sticking with people. Because we need those pesky things called facts.
And that's just it. Esau can never prove his facts because he's a liar. So while the U.S. is sticking on all-out war with Iran, here's what Iran's doing. They're having their own Navy drills to get ready for the war. And all these other countries, they still want to trade with Iran, with Persia. And that's the Ezekiel 38 prophecy. Magog shall thou be a guard unto them. Persia, Ethiopia, all of them handling swords. Gomer and all his bands, that's Turkey. All these countries are ready to battle in the Valley Yehoshaphat, where you also know it as the Day of the Lord, the Day of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. in the final hour that leads to Babylon the Great being destroyed, all these countries are going to launch their missiles against America